Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing this Flowers of Friendship thank you card. Let's get started with creating. For this card, I'm going to be using the Flowers of Friendship bundle. That's the stamp set. And the coordinating flowers and leaves punch. Now remember, when you buy a bundle, you get a 10% discount over buying them separately. And the stamp is a red rubber cling stamp. So let me bring in a piece of basic white, and I'm just going to rub this with my embossing buddy. You'll want to use some sort of anti-static bag for that. If you haven't heat embossed before, that's to keep your embossing powder from sticking in places you don't want to have it. So next I've got my arrangement of flowers and leaves on here, and I'm going to just ink them up with my Versamark and then pull this in here without getting my fingers on my cardstock. And stamp. And then let's bring in a piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to just slide this underneath and sprinkle with my white Stampin' Emboss powder. Okay, and then we're all ready to heat set it here. So let's pour this back in. It's a little breezy in my craft room today and don't want my embossing powder blowing around. And I like to heat up my gun to begin with, or heat tool. It's not really a gun. And then I'm going to start from behind to get this good and warm. And then just come on over here to the front and heat until this changes. It's a little harder to see it change on white. Now if I'm embossing on dark cardstock, I want to do most of this process, if not all of it, from behind. Okay, so that's embossed. I'm going to do this a couple of more times, and then I'll be back for the next step. So these are all embossed. And because I also want some variation in my leaves other than just size, I'm going to use the Symmetrical Stems border punch, but instead of creating a border, I just want the leaves. So I'm just sliding this in up to the stop, and then making sure that my cardstock is in there. I'm going to punch some leaves. I'll do this a few more times. But for now, that's enough to show you what we're going to do. So I've got my silicone craft sheet here and my embossed pieces. And I'm going to start with my pale papaya ink. Let me just give that a squeeze here. Might want a tad more. And going to do a little bit of water painting. So I've got the smallest of the water painters, and it's filled with some water, and let's just pick up some of that pale papaya. You can always add color, but it's hard to take it away. So let me start and color here inside this smaller flower. Now you can let this dry and come back and add more more color and shading, and that will keep you from having it oversaturated and perhaps more crumply than you like. Sometimes crumple is good, and sometimes it's not what you're looking for. So just brushing in some color into this outer loop on the flower. Okay, so I'll let that one dry, and let me brush out my water painter And close this one up and bring in the fresh freesia. Again, just wetting some of that color. And I do want this darker in the center and lighter out towards the ends of the petals. And as I said, I can come back after that's dried and add some additional shading. And brushed out my water painter. Let's give this a squeeze. And if you're not familiar with the water painters, they come in a 3-pack. And one of my favorite brushes is the broad flat tip brush. It's great for creating backgrounds. And this is just Jade that I'm brushing in on the leaves. And then I'm also going to brush these leaves that I punched with the Just Jade. So this one will have a little more color because I got carried away with how much color I lifted with my brush. And this one will be a little lighter. And that's okay because it'll add some visual texture to the piece I'm creating. So let me finish coloring and I'll be back again. Okay, so everything is painted up and now I want to take that flowers and leaves punch and punch all of these out. And if you'd like to know the tip for arranging these all on a block so that you're able to stamp and punch them all at one time, you can see the One Simple Trick video that I've referenced above. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish punching these and I'll be back for the next step. With all of my painted pieces punched and off to the side, it's time to stamp our sentiment. And I've brought back in that piece of basic white that we used for some of the leaves. And I've got my sentiment and I've added a piece of washi because I just want this to say thank you. So I'm going to ink that up, make sure that it's good and inky before I pull off my piece of washi. Do remember to pull off the washi. And then let's stamp. And there we go. And then I need to die cut this and we will be just about ready to assemble. Okay, so our sentiment has been cut with this hydrangea die that has this nice little stitched border. And then I've used the scallop contour dies and cut a piece of vellum and a piece of fresh freesia. Now you can find a chart for the scallop contour dies over on my blog that'll give you the sizes for those. I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet again and put a little bit of multi-purpose glue down on that. And I've got a sponge dauber that I use just for glue, and I'm going to glue that up, started to say ink that up, and just going to add that glue to the back of my piece of vellum. And I'm just doing a very thin coat around here, not worrying about getting all the way out to the edges, but I do want to make sure that I haven't left any ridges of glue. Okay, so let's line these up. The vellum works as a softening of, not that fresh freesia is very intense. Let's pull that off and do it again. I do want them to line up exactly. As I was saying, not that fresh freesia is a very intense color, but I wanted it even more muted, and so the vellum does that for us. And I'm just going to give that a good rub, and now we've got those adhered. Let me put this out of the way. Next, I've got a piece of basic white that is 3 15/16 by 5 3/16, and my light fresh freesia Stampin' Blends, and I want just a little bit of splatter on my card, so maybe down here, and that's it. I just want just a little bit of not completely white background on this. So next I'm going to attach that to a piece of fresh freesia. Now this is cut at 4 1/16 by 5 5/16, and I'm going to adhere these two pieces with multi-purpose glue. And just checking to make sure that I'm lined up all the way around the edges. Okay, and let's put some dimensionals on this and add it to our card base. And then we'll begin building the front of the card. Okay. So our card base is thick basic white, 4 1/4 by 11, and scored at 5 1/2. And let's just line this up in our grid paper. Okay. And then let's add our piece here, this pretty layered piece. Oops, there we go. And again, we're going to line this up. Grid paper is your friend. If you didn't know, you can purchase that in my Stampin' Up store. Everybody should have some grid paper. I think I'm just a tiny bit crooked, so I'm going to pull these up and shift this just a little bit to the left. Okay, so now we're ready to pull these pieces in and our sentiment, but I need one more piece, and so I've got the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. You get several sheets of these gold die cuts, and there's some lovely delicate pieces in here, and I'm going to use this little frame, and then of course these sequins, adhesive back sequins, are great. So I'm going to use a couple of glue dots to put this down. And I'm not worried about them showing because this edge of my frame is going to be hidden. If it wasn't going to be, I feel like I've got a glue dot on, I do, on my finger. If it wasn't going to be hidden, then I would add just a tiny bit of multi-purpose glue. So I'm going to offset this so I get that delicate line out on the side. Okay, let's put these out of the way. And now we're ready for our flowers. And I'm just going to set them in place first. Build my arrangement, and then come back and add my adhesive. Okay, so let's grab a couple of these little leaves. You'll notice that I don't adhere every bit of everything. I do like to have the ends loose. Okay, and I find it easier if I can stick some of the leaves in as I go instead of having everything glued down to begin with. So this one is going to be glued directly. And I want to come in underneath here. Okay, and then this top flower here is going to be glued directly. Okay, now let me find my dimensionals and mini dimensionals, and we'll begin to add some dimension layering to this. You'll notice I'm not putting dimensions on all of the petals, and that's because I can get the height from these outside petals, and then this will still tuck nicely underneath. And let's grab this one, and I want to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to add a full-size dimensional here, and then add mini dimensionals on 3 of my petals, and then that 4th one that's going to tuck underneath won't get a dimensional. Oop, I did already pull the backing off the big one. Full size. Let's bring this down just a smidgy. And over. Okay. And we'll do the same thing with this one. And then leaving one petal without a dimensional. Oops. Yes. Bring this one all the way down, and then this one's going to get dimensionals all the way around. Okay, now we need some leaves, and we're going to start with these couple. And let's see. I don't know why I'm pretending like I'm left-handed with some of my handling. I want these out here on this edge. And one of these larger leaves down here as well. Okay. And then let's pop in one of the smaller leaves up here, because we need just a touch of green here. And then we'll do one more of the large leaves out here on the side. And one more small leaf up here. Okay, let's add dimensionals on our sentiment. Just checking to see whether I'm going to need to add a second dimensional. And I think I do out here on this end. Okay, so making sure that's straight. And then we need a little bit of embellishment. Let me move these out of the way. And I've got some of this Fresh Freesia open weave ribbon, and I just want to cut off a small bit here. Let's move this out of the way, and then I want just these little satiny edges. Cut that in half, and I'm not going to pull these threads. Okay, they've come off by themselves. I was going to say, if I pull the threads, I'll unravel the whole shebang. So take your pick and attach one of these pieces on a mini glue dot, and then I'm just going to change the angle here and tuck this right under my flowers, so it's just kind of sticking out the edge there, giving it a little airy lightness. And same thing with another little piece of this. Nope. If I go this way, I won't have to orient them when I'm ready to tuck them in. Okay, and let's cut another couple of these. Okay, and that's that. And then I think we need just a touch of bling. For our bling, we're going to use those adhesive back sequins from the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. And they're a great, almost not tinted. They pick up more of the color of what you're working with, so we get that little bit of shine without adding a lot of color to our project. Okay, and there we are with our Flowers of Friendship thank you card. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you'd like to be notified the next time I upload a video. And if you're in the United States, please do some of your Stampin' Up! Shopping in my store. You can find a link in the description below. Thanks for stopping in. Have a great day. Bye.